So today we're visiting a project that we completed in December of last year, and it's a first story renovation of basically the entire kitchen and the living room space, including a number of other things that we'll get into on the inside. So we're going to head in here and take a look at everything. So in this project, we had basically a very confined space. The living room and the dining room and the kitchen were all separated. And what that created was just a bit of a disconnect for the family. So they wanted to be able to connect from the TV, the living room, all the way into the kitchen. But with the walls in the middle, it didn't allow for that family connection space that they were after. And so we came in and really just tried to figure out, what was going to be the easiest path to getting it all opened up to basically an open floor plan. And usually what it comes down to is, restructuring and moving walls and load points. So as we come into here, I'll explain that this entire area right here was a wall. There was another wall that went right between these windows, and yet another one that was from the oven over to this post. And that's what created that dining room space, which is a complete walled off area that separated us from the living room. At the end of the day, what we did was we removed the walls and did some temporary structuring to support it. But we did one single load point right here with this post. And up here are two big LVL beams. So this one going this way and this one going this way, which ultimately allowed us to maintain the structural integrity of the rest of the home and the roof above, but also create this expansive open floor plan. So as we go through, you'll see in these pictures, the old photos and what it looked like in the old space. And you'll just see how chopped up and disconnected this space was from what it is today until what it was before we got started. As great as it could be for the space. So not only did getting rid of the walls connect to the living room space, but doing this really improved the functionality of the kitchen. You could see this massive island that we have, and also the Schrock cabinetry. So they went with an Inglis, which is basically a shaker style door, maple with a painted steam is the color. So it's a little bit of an off-white, and the island is a buckskin color. So they did a really good job. Kendall and Dave did a really good job with choosing colors that contrasted so that the white countertops mirrored the white appliances, the buckskin island base cabinets, and the flooring, along with these really beautiful beams up here, really just created a really nice contrast. They were good with picking out, knowing what they wanted, knowing what their vision was. It's always great, and you're working with someone that really has an idea and feel for what they want their home to look like. So that collaboration with them was great. So another element that they really loved was the big farm sink, white, really large farm sink, and the appliances. So the appliances are super awesome. They're GE Café appliances, and there's really not a better set of appliances on the market for a newly renovated or newly built home today, in my opinion. The functionality of them is great, but the look of them is awesome. Usually you don't see white appliances, but they have not only the white appliance, but the brushed bronze handles on them. I think just went so well with the rest of the design. Even the veining in the quartz countertops, I think pulled on that brushed bronze hardware. So another element that I think is great is the backsplash. And so the backsplash isn't a tile backsplash like it typically you would see. It's actually the countertop is the backsplash. So a complete flow from the countertop to the backsplash, same material. And what Kendall really didn't want was, spaghetti sauce splashing into the grout joints and then having to clean the grout. So having the backsplash, the same material as the countertop throughout the whole space, just provides a very easy, it not only is it beautiful and elegant, but it's so easy to clean. And that's definitely something that she fell in love with when she thought of getting rid of the grout and the subway tile look. So standing over here from this perspective, we're now in the dining room and living room area. And we have this massive island in the seating and the dining room table, and then all the couches and the TV. So families today really enjoy the ability to have their kids in the living room, dining room area, getting ready for school. Maybe they're eating breakfast, doing their homework, and, mom and dad are in the kitchen, if they're making breakfast or whatever, just getting ready for work, but they're all in a connected space. So, kids are able to watch TV. Maybe they're doing their cereal at the countertop at the island and doing their homework. So there's a connection space between all of that. And sometimes, for a lot of us, is me included, there's a little bit, you have an hour with your kids in the morning before they're off to school. So, having the ability to just be with them and be connected with them and not disconnect is an important thing, especially in today's world with how busy things could be. So I love the way that this came out, having all of the space connected, the walls are gone, connected to food, connected to TV and living. Love the way it came out, and I think they did a really good job of picking everything, including the table and all the dining room furniture. I think it's awesome. I want you to pay attention to this posts and these beams behind me and what this looks like right now, because what I'm about to show you are the before pictures or the during pictures of what it looked like to get this space really dialed in. So in these pictures, you're going to see how these two big beams went into the floor joist system along with this post. And I really just want to take a moment to shout out the team, Brandon, Carlos, and all the guys. Dave was our project manager. They did a phenomenal job of restructuring all of this place. And everything looks beautiful now that we're done. But the real work and the real effort goes in with those guys, boots on the ground, problem solving, figuring out how are we going to temporarily support all of this? How are we going to get these beams into place and, you know, make sure nothing falls down, right? So I have the best team in the world. These guys are amazing. Shout out to all of you guys. You did a phenomenal job on this project, and it was only appropriate to show some of this while we're at it. So one final feature that I want to talk about is this birch 4¼ inch hardwood floor. Not only is it soft and nice to look at, and it really combines the blonde and the dark streaks to like the island and that dining room table. Not only does it tie in the elements visually, but it looks soft, and it actually is like soft on your feet to walk on. And it's one thing that we noticed when it was all said and done. We were walking in here with our shoes off. Man, it just feels so comfortable of a living space. So final feature of the home is this beautiful birch hardwood floor. Not a super common hardwood that you see. Usually you're seeing oak or maple, but birch was like the perfect pick for this space. And again, Kendall and Dave did a great job picking all of these different moving parts to just bring it all together. Super awesome. Hey guys, so I'm here with my cousin Kendall, and this project was for my cousin and her family, obviously. And we just wanted to sit down and go over a couple things, ask her some questions about what was important and how it went, and even maybe get a laugh or two out of it, because she's a laugher. Like, what? So this is going to be something for, you know, the project, and also something for our family. Being that we're cousins, we want to do something that's you know, a little bit special for them too. So we're going to get right into some questions. So what was it like living here before the renovation and now that it's finished? What was it like for that?
Yeah, great question. I think before we always knew we would love an open concept, and we had a beautiful home beforehand. We were really happy with it. Realistically, this is my childhood dream home. Grew up on this block, and so have known this home my whole life. And we did love our home before, and it was functional, but the increase in function and visibility and like able to just gel as a family in the space now is just exponentially different. We have full visibility to the kids at all times. We have free young boys. They are very active and always running around. And so now, like, I'm making dinner and I can see them in the living room. I can see them coming up from the basement. I can see them if they're at the table. And that line of visibility is not something that we had in the past.
Yeah. So the line of visibility wasn't there. There was walls. What did that feel like with it being more cramped? What did it feel like?
Yeah, it was definitely not as spacious. I would say there were times of being cramped. I think we moved into this house without having any children, and we felt like it was enormous.
Yeah.
And how will we ever fill the space? We don't have enough furniture, you know, all the things you experience when you buy a home.
Yeah.
And very quickly with the kids, things filled up.
3 boys later.
Yep, for sure. And so I think the biggest thing was really feeling like I'm always in the kitchen, always making a snack or a meal, and not being able to see the kid, hearing a noise and wondering, oh boy, what happened, or wondering where they are they playing together, are they fighting? And so that piece has been just tremendously different.
Awesome. So how hard was it living through the construction process? Be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it was challenging. It was, so right before it started, we had planned a vacation. We were taking the kids to Disney, you probably remember. And so we thought, okay, this is great. We're going to get out of the house. And it was actually pretty stress inducing being away. So that was an interesting piece, short lived, but it felt longer than a week for sure that we were gone for. As a family, right before the renovation, we had also bought a camper, which turned out to be the greatest gift for sure. Because really, without an entire first floor, we had obviously no kitchen. So you had a couple small appliances in our basement, but still a lot of traffic through the first floor to always get to the basement.
Yep.
So we really ended up doing meals side in our camper a lot. It had solar panels and things like that, so it made it doable. But I mean, that was important for us with the 3 kids. But yeah, I mean, it had its challenges, it had its up and downs. I think we just always kept in mind, like, what was the end game, what was that end result, and just stay motivated by it. But you know, like, not to be taken lightly. Like, you really, I think you and your team did a great job in prepping as much as you can prepare for something that you don't feel. Prepped us for like, this is going to be a big adjustment. Where are you going to put this? And just prepping, even I think it was you personally who had said, like, get those small appliances in the basement and like make some of those things available. And so thinking about it beforehand and getting prepared is definitely important.
Yeah, for sure. We talk about the emotional roller coaster that construction is and living through it, right? Like you have in the beginning, you're in design, so it's exciting. Like,
Yep.
And then you get to the point where it's like everything is demoed and you're like, why is this taking so long? And then it takes extra too long from there. And you're like, guys, can you just get out of my house, right? So, it is what it is, right? But like you said, it's not to be taken lightly is how you said it. And I think that's, it's well put, because it could seem when you take these pictures and it looks beautiful at the end, sometimes that's all you see is the end. At the end of the tunnel is certainly important, but that it's going to be a struggle. It's going to take longer than you're told that it's going to take or what you think it's going to take. I mean, you guys were great, which I knew that you would be, but I think it's like, knowing what it's like to live through a construction project, not very easy. And so, for us, it's always like when people have patience and tolerance and there's a collaboration between us and the people that we're working for. And clearly you're my family. So I'm lucky on my end, right? You're maybe not so much on your end, but it's nice when people can just have that tolerance and understand and, get through it with you. And, we always say like, there are going to be good days and bad days, and it's like a marriage. And, I know I have to get through a good day with you and have fun. And I know that we have to get through a hard day together. And, clearly you guys did that the whole time. And I love you for every reason, and just appreciate the way that you treated us, all the guys. I'm sure we got this special cousin treatment, but you were great. And I love the way that your home came out. I drive by because we live up the street as well, coincidentally. And, I drive by and I look through the window and I see like little boy heads popping up.
He's always popping. That goes there for us too, right? Knowing the fortunate relationship of knowing that we're family. There was always a level of trust. To your point, even on a bad day, something's behind or, gonna get redone or whatever the case is. Like at the end of the day, I know no one was ever gonna leave us in a bad spot. And not only because of our relationship as family, but just the overall experience that we had with your team. Like there was never a phone call unanswered. There was never a text message unanswered. We joked about like, hey, I'm not supposed to answer a text after 5 p.m., but like, I'm going to tell on Dave O'Hara, like he did. I think to your points, there's ups and downs, good days, bad days, but overall, your team was really with us through and through. And I think even at the end of like really tidying up, we finished right before Christmas, like the gang and met the boys throughout the whole process. And I could tell even like an emotional investment in like, we got to get this house ready for Christmas. We were putting up a Christmas tree on like December 18th, right? And the gang was like part of it with us. So it was neat.
Yeah, it's awesome. Shout out to Dave O'Hara, project manager, right? Like awesome guy. They're a great team. They do the best that they can. And, I think they all have families, all of us, young kids, they coach sports and, their Christmas tree is going up, so they get it. And you're trying to make an attempt to do something that's more than just like laying the floor and putting the cabinets up, but our purpose is to serve a family that needs something that they don't have, day to day. Like they're not marching with that like on their shoulder, playing in their ear every day. But I think, generally the passion for what they do is there, and the purpose in construction is there for all of them. So, we're fortunate, and I'm happy that you had that experience, so
Yeah, for sure.
awesome. So you have 3 boys. What's better for them about the space than it was?
Question. They are always running in a full-blown circle. It seems like they're probably favorite part about the project is probably the island because they just get so much action in the kitchen. But I think they really enjoy the ability to kind of like play so openly. There's things they can do inside now that they couldn't have done inside before. And maybe I'm not always thrilled about what they're doing inside, but they have the opportunity to do it. And so we see a lot of times, like even just like throwing a ball here in the foyer, like now this is such a big open space where before, great, we had closets, we had these walls up. And so like that just wasn't an opportunity they had before. So I do see that they're able to kind of play together a lot more than they had in the past.
Yeah.
And again, maybe that's just, again, the ability to see each other physically.
Yeah.
But I think it really does kind of bring them together better.
Yeah, that's awesome. So project features, the backsplash, the cabinets, the awesome cafe appliances. What is your one favorite top feature? You only get to pay for.
Okay, that's a good one. I think I would say the backsplash. So this was, and I'm sure you remember, all of our indecisiveness. And by our, I should say me, because I feel like David always knew what he wanted.
Yeah.
And had the idea, and it was me who was churning on things. We spent a lot of time looking at tile, looking at different options, like what we just painted. And I think in the back of our minds, we always knew that in an ideal state, we would take the quartz off the back, but we kept talking ourselves out of it from a cost perspective and just round and round and round with tile samples. And I think one of the other pieces that really got us was the white on white on white, which we knew was the look we wanted to go for, but felt like it was getting too complicated with the tile.
Yeah.
And then it was getting, there was matching and then there was too matching or not matching up. And so I think really in that phase, we had decided, you know what, let's just do it. Like if we're spending the money now, let's just do it the way we really fell in love with. And so it's pretty unique, something a little different, not something you see a whole lot. It's super easy to clean, which is one of my favorite parts. But it just kind of like keeps everything flowing right through. Like you look and you see the island and it takes that same look all the way through the kitchen and up the walls. So
It's sweet. I think we all do that. You know, we consider it's an upgrade and the price is going to be more and you get hung up around it, but then you do it and you're like, I would never consider not doing that now that I've lived with it before, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
you know, we talk about like budgeting for things and, you know, sometimes you know what it's going to be when you get started, but you always have the unknown things that come up. And then you have, you know, it's just nice to be able to upgrade to something like that when you want to. So, you know, we always tell people like, don't just have an extra 10 to 15% in your budget, because if you get to the phase where you're doing a nice countertop and you want to do something like that, that could be all the difference to somebody. It sounds like for you, that was like a pretty big thing. Yeah. Awesome. Special question for a special project. We're cousins. We grew up with literally the best people in the world. Our aunts, uncles, family members were wonderful. What was it like growing up around them and how did they shape you as a person?
Yeah. Good question. Okay. You know, I think probably one of the biggest things, my father always says this. He always tells me, you're so much like your grandma Vicky. And so I laugh about that. I think there's like two main reasons. One is like a very maternal side of me with the kids. Our grandma had 4 biological children, adopted a son, had, I think, 60 something foster children in and out of the house. And so there was always like a big feeling of family in grandma and grandpa's house for sure. And I think that leads into like the second piece of hosting and entertaining. I really, really love to be the house that everybody comes to for Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, whatever birthdays, like you name it. We make a holiday out of Halloween dinner in this house. So this functionality in the last year has just blown everything we've done in the past out of the water. Just everybody like sitting at the island, gathering around the island, being able to put the food on. And it was so different and cramped in the past. It was always feeling like only so many people could fit inside the dining room because it was this one tiny area, where now we're like a way bigger table that extends. We've got the seating in the island. And again, just standing around the island, it's like just brings that kind of togetherness to a different level. And so I always kind of think about it from, I guess, those two perspectives.
Yeah. You know, I'll chime in too,
Yeah,
right?
please.
We grew up, our grandparents' house was the place that we all went. Sometimes it was for no good reason, right? Sometimes it was like there was just dinner weekly, and sometimes it was a family event. I think that we really, you know, for me, learned just like how important it was to get with family and connect and spend, not forget, and spend time, you know, when it was important.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, I think for me, it lets me obviously be that kind of a person to my family, but even like at work, it's like a family environment is important. Why? Well, because we're super fortunate, I think, like with the family that we had growing up, that you guys, you know, shout out to all of these people, my parents, your parents, Uncle Dave and Carol, Uncle Ernie, all of them, right? Like amazing people. Thank you. You helped make this. Yeah, you're stuck with us now. We appreciate you, and I love the family that you have and who you've become. We weren't too far apart in school, and Kendall was also always like one of the awesome people in my family that I was probably the closest connected to. So we've come a long way, it feels like, right?
Yeah. I don't know how we got this old, but you're right.
Right. Well, it's a great way to end the interview. And, you know, thank you for just taking this time out, doing this with us. And I love your space. I appreciate the project of being able to be a part of, you know, this with your family. It was awesome for me. And, you know, hopefully it was awesome for them for a long time to come.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.